Okay, just a little worthy of mention. When you run out of strings, so 6, 7 root the G shape in the G box, obviously. That's how the string shapes work. Top string is the bottom string is the G box. Big old S5G there. So we do a G shape there, and we want to go to the next shape up. It's going to be the fourth of it, right? G shape is going to go to a D shape. No, it's going to be the fifth of it. My bad there. It's going to be the fifth of it. So when we're going up in strings, we're adding string shaped fifths. So also going up is this way. Going down is that way. So when we're going up, we add string shaped fifths. When we go to the from the G shape to the D shape, we're going to the next shape up. We got isolation between the two shapes there. Okay? There's isolation between the two shapes there because we have, this is the D shape. Here's the D shape pentatonic. So there's that isolation. So it's really just a whole step in between there. Okay? So you can always finish the pattern on the same string just using string shapes. I could do the whole pattern practically from way down here. It wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be that fun because let's say I wanted to do it in the key of F. You know, we could get in trouble here. It would be 7 root 2 and then 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root 2, 3, 4. That's what we'd be looking at, and we're just taking these 4 strings and dividing them into one string like here. So it's 7 root 2, and then we'd have 3, 4, 5, then we'd have 6, 7 root, and way up on top there we'd have 6, 7 root, then we'd have 2, 3, 4, right? Or just we'd have an A shape way up here. So you can do that just to finish the pattern if you want, but it takes you into the next shape. So if you started in the G box, you're going to end up in the D box there. And then you can just bring the pattern down in the D box. So we didn't get too singed there. I like to follow through with the topic until we're satisfied that we've at least tried to cover it. And that is taking the patterns onto the last string there. I used to do that in intervals. I used to do it in intervals. So if we were going 6, 7 root, I'd be like worried about what is this interval? Well, there's a whole step. Okay, so that's just a whole step because it's up a fourth, here's a major third, here's a minor third, and here's a whole step. So it's going to be a whole step between this root, if this is the top string, and that too. So that'll work. Okay, just had to warm up my coffee there. I don't like to get into subjects that we can make mistakes or involves my playing isn't ready to do that. That's not what I've been practicing. But the biggest mistake you can make is confusing, are you going to do a fifth or a fourth? So let's just review that real quick now. From the C string shape, it goes up in fifths, so it's C, fifth of C is the G string shape, pentatonic. The fifth of G is the D string shape, pentatonic. We don't go to the fourth there. And the fifth of the D string shape is the A string shape pentatonic. Fifth of that A is the E string shape pentatonic. We don't play the seventh there. You know, it's good to take another look at your pentatonic scales and see what you're not playing, because you might need the whole thing. You might need to know where that diatonic scale is when you're playing shape fitting that pentatonic. So they go up in fifths and down in fourths. Now that's important to remember, down in fourths. Down in fourths this way is we're also going to discuss. So let's use the chart because the chart is easier. Okay, so up here is where we started all of this. Okay, now this is the long chart, and I'm going to skip to the today's chart today, which is a better chart. These are the long patterns, but I use the short patterns on today's chart. So let's go there. Wow, that was quite a while ago. This is an interesting old chart that we seem to have come across. I remember when I was doing this and circling. I didn't do my circling on the chart today. So I guess circling came back up. You know, where you could just take a shape, okay, such as the E shape, and just push it through the tuning warp. You just push it through the tuning warp, and it creates these chord shapes. You know, so I've done that. This is just warping something. We're actually moving the warp down. So effectively, we're pushing it through the tuning warp because we're moving the warp down. So here's warp 1. Warp 2 would be, you know, and this is actually starting at a warp on top, not starting on the warp on the second string. And then warp goes to second string, warp goes to third string, warp goes to fourth string. And I'm just looking and see what kind of chord shapes are formed. Warp to fourth string or fifth, and then warp 0 is the same as all of them warped. And that's an unwarped, is warp 0. So that's a P4 pattern right there. Anyway. Alright, so this is today's chart. And, you know, this is what happens with some of my times where I make 2 or 3 charts. We kind of end up skipping to the most recent chart because it's just so much easier. So we're just talking about fifths and fourths, and you're like, we're wondering, why is he talking about that? And then all of a sudden it's in writing, and like, wait a minute, is this important? Yes, it is. Now these are fretboard fifths and then fretboard fourths, but that's fretboard fifths if we're moving the fretboard, if we're moving the pattern down, it's fretboard fifths that way. And let's look at that. So let's start with the C pattern, because here's the circle of the mighty key shape pattern circle. So on the inside is the key, the actual key that we'll be playing with. So we'll be starting on the key of C. And these are the the shapes that are going to be played as we go around. And you notice it repeats itself in fourths, okay? So we're actually going to the left in fifths and to the right in fourths, okay? So the fifth of wow, but there this is supposed to be fourths here. It isn't. The fourth of C is E here. Okay, so there's a mistake. I gotta look at that. Okay, so what's happened is this is really a circle of fifths here. Fifth of C is G, fifth of G is D, fifth of D is A, fifth of A is E, and all that stuff. But when we're going using it as a circle of fourths, we also have to consider that the fourth of E, the fourth of the C shape is the E string shape. Now look at this.